Greetings, Lions. In this video, we're going to talk about cleaning your brass instrument. Soon, you're going to be turning in your school brass instrument, and it needs to be thoroughly cleaned before we can begin the sanitization process that happens on that instrument. So here are some basic steps that you'll want to follow. First of all, on all of your brass instruments, you'll want to take your mouthpiece and clean it with soap and water. The kind of soap we're talking about using is just ordinary dish soap that you would use in the sink. Using a mouthpiece brush, scrub inside, scrub outside. Give it a little extra attention to right here. On your mouthpiece, if your thumbnail scrapes something and it comes off with your thumbnail, it should come off when you wash it as well. A washcloth can work right there. If something is really stuck on there and you feel it scraping with your thumbnail, put a drop or two of white vinegar on that spot. Let it sit for a moment and then clean it off with soap and water, and that will help it come off also. Rinse your mouthpiece, set it to dry. Then on the rest of your instrument, let's talk about the valved brass instruments like trumpet, baritone, and tuba. French horn is also similar to this with one major exception, but the others are all big versions of this. The first thing you're going to want to do is completely disassemble your instrument. Now before you do that, I suggest having a towel set down somewhere, on a countertop by a sink, on the floor next to the bathtub, or outside next to your source of water, because you're going to need soap and water to do this. You're going to need a towel to set pieces on, maybe several, and a towel to dry your instrument with, a washcloth, a mouthpiece brush, and a cleaning snake, and it's helpful to have some Q-tips. If you don't have all of those, the soap and water and a washcloth is going to get you a long ways too. Okay? So start out by taking your instrument apart. All of the slides should be able to be removed from your instrument, and set them down. You might want to set them down in order so you remember where they came from. Or if you really think you're going to be confused, take a look at a picture of your instrument, or take a picture of your instrument before you take them apart. Set each of those down. Take all of the slides out. If you have a slide that's stuck and you can't get out, just leave it in for the cleaning. It'll be okay. All of the valved instruments except for French horn, remove each valve. It's really important that you're careful with the valves after you've removed them, and set them down in order. You may also notice that on most valves, when you take them out, there's a number. On my valve, the number is right there. You probably can't see it in the camera, a little number 1 there, okay? Most instruments have them numbered, not all of them. Sometimes on tubas and baritones, it's on the top of the valve, like right there, okay? Just in case, set them down in order when you take them out. So you'll remove all of the slides, all of the valves. So you're going to be left with just an instrument with a bunch of openings. Take that and put it in your soapy water. Take your cleaning snake and run it through every single space you can get to. Don't worry about getting around corners. Just get to the corner, up and back, up and back. If you try and force it around corners, it's going to get stuck. With the body of your instrument, also make sure you've gone through each valve casing. You should have removed also the bottom caps too. The caps on the bottom don't have to be in a particular order. On a tuba and a baritone, when you do that, you're going to see a spring come out. Don't lose the spring. Each valve has a spring. So you work this through with soapy water on all the parts. Get in between the parts that are hard to get to. That's where a Q-tip comes in handy. You can scrub in there in between. Okay. Rinse it off. And then, oh boy, stuff came out of there. Rinse it off, and then take a dish towel to dry it off. Okay? You can also blow air through it to dry off parts. Set it down, let it dry. Go to each of the slides that you pulled out. Now, it's really important that you also soap and water through the slides. And then you take a washcloth and soap and get the old grease off. That's a really important step, to get the old grease off. Finally, you're going to go to your valves, except for French horns. On many of your valves at the top part, there is a piece of felt or a piece of cork. I'd like you to do your best to not get that wet. Sometimes you can just kind of lift it up with your fingers, or just don't get that part of the valve wet, okay? You're going to get this into soapy water, wash it off. You're trying to just get the oil off, and that's what dish soap does. It gets off grease and oil really well. You may use your cleaning snake or valve or mouthpiece brush to get in between. You see some cheesy stuff there. And again, the thumbnail rule applies. If something comes off with your thumbnail, it should come off of here. Okay? Be very careful setting these down so they don't get dented. Make sure that you have not taken apart any of the other parts of it. Okay? If you're not sure how it goes back together, look at another one is a great way to figure it out. Or you can email me and video me and we'll put it back together. Okay? Yeah, at the very worst, put it all in a Ziploc bag and put it back in the case. All right, then you're going to set these aside. So now you've got the whole instrument washed, rinsed, and dried. Take each of your valve slides and re-grease them. Okay, now grease, folks, not oil, but grease. Grease is the greasy stuff. And put a little bit, work it all the way around. I like to keep a paper towel handy when I do that so I can wipe it off. And then reinsert your slide back into the instrument carefully. It should go back and forth. I like to push it all the way in and get the excess goop off with a paper towel. And then pull it out a little ways. Okay, when we store them, we like to have them stored partially out. Do that on all of your valve slides. Trumpets, some of you might have a little screw to undo to get that third valve slide all the way off, by the way. Mine has a little plastic gadget I've got to push out, but that one should come off too. On a French horn, you've got about anywhere from 4 to 8 slides that come off on your horn. So be really particular about setting those down in the right order so when you put them back on, they go in the right place. They usually only fit in certain places too. Finally, take your valves, put a good amount of oil on the valves, put the valve back in, and you've been doing this all year now. Wait till they click, turn it till it clicks. So you know what's in there. Put the cap back down, blow air through, work your valves, okay? Then just make sure that everything's been dried off. Then you take your polish cloth, wipe off all the fingerprints, okay? If you have a brass instrument, something you can do if you want to shine it up, okay? Instrument made of brass that has a lacquer coating. These all have a lacquer coating. So never use brass cleaner on a brass instrument because it's coated with lacquer. Cleaner eats lacquer, okay? You can use something like this furniture polish. This is Pledge. Pledge is really good. It's meant for lacquered surfaces. And so you spray a little on the cloth. Don't spray it on the instrument. Spray it on the cloth. And then shine it, remove the fingerprints, okay? That does a really nice job. Don't forget to get inside the valve. And, smells lemony fresh. So they have a furniture polish and a multi-surface polish. Both of them work. I like the furniture one better for brass instruments. Trombones, let's talk with you guys for a moment. You want to have your slide taken apart. This part of your trombone, you do just like you did the trumpet. Remove that slide, clean it, grease it, snake all the parts of your trombone through. The tricky part for yours is taking your main slide completely apart, okay? You want to snake through each part with water. Snake through this part, soap and water, soap and water. The first, about 6 or 7 inches of that is the most important part, especially on the top part of the slide that you blow into. Also, make sure you've gone through this one very carefully, okay? Very carefully with your cleaning snake. It should look, when you look through it, like a mirrored tunnel after you've cleaned it and rinsed it. Gently shake it to dry it. Be more careful than that. And then leave it completely dry when you put it together. Fit it together carefully. Do not put new trombone lube on it when you put it away for the summer because then that stuff dries up. The last step is take a vacuum with a hose attachment to your case and get all of the lint and dust out of your case that's accumulated over the year, okay? You may have accessories in there, things like valve oil and grease and mouthpiece brushes. Keep those. Put them in a Ziploc bag at home and keep them for next year because you're going to need them again. Why buy new ones, okay? A good source of water to use for doing this, most smaller instruments like a trumpet or a French horn, a sink might work. A bathtub is great. You can even get a tuba in a bathtub. A large tub like you would put drinks in, like we do at concerts, works well. You can even just set a towel down on a surface outside so you have a soft place for your instrument, and use a hose if you're just really careful, okay? You don't want to be in muddy grass or something like that, but you can set a towel down, places to set your instrument, and you can use a hose, and that works really well too. Just make sure you're not scraping the metal end of the hose against your instrument. All right? Please take time to do that so that you've adequately cleaned your instrument before it comes back to school. We'll take care of the sanitization process for the instruments, and that way we can keep your school instruments working nice. Thanks for taking time to do that.